Number 1. Female cop gets owned by their senior. In August 2020, 41-year-old Sean Porter was protesting against Maryland Governor Larry Hogan in the crosswalk of a busy intersection. Mr. Porter was holding a large handmade sign with various insulting profanities directed at the governor and waving at traffic as they honked and drove by after standing in the intersection for a few minutes. Mr. Porter was initially contacted by members of the Prince George's County Police, who didn't bother him. However, several minutes later, Officer McKenzie and Officer Arnold of the Bowie Police Department arrived on the scene.
How you doing, sir? Hey. I don't want to give you a hard time or anything, but I can't let you hold up that sign.
I'm sorry, the First Amendment protects my free political speech. You're live on YouTube, video and audio recorded.
Officer McKenzie informed Mr. Porter that his sign was vulgar and it was upsetting people, to which Mr. Porter replied,
It doesn't matter, you're not the free speech police.
I understand that.
I have a constitutionally protected right to say whatever I want. I'm politically protesting Governor Larry Hogan. It's my First Amendment right on the right to petition, my right to redress of grievances, and my right to file a complaint in any manner I feel fit. By the way, I'm not trespassing. I'm on public property. I'm on a public crosswalk. I'm doing nothing wrong. I got a sign that you find offensive. That's not a law. Where in the Maryland Criminal Code does it say you cannot have an offensive political sign? Because free speech is not open to your interpretation.
Officer McKenzie told Mr. Porter that they received a complaint regarding his sign. However, Mr. Porter replied that he had a right to express himself and that he had not broken any laws. At this point, Officer Arnold steps in and tells Mr. Porter that,
Hey.
Okay, there's a thing called disorderly conduct.
I can't hear you.
There's a thing called disorderly conduct. If somebody finds your sign and your actions to be disorderly in public, okay, then that is a charge and we can ask you to leave. And failure to do that, you can get arrested.
Get your commanding officer out here because this is political free speech and I'm protected under the First Amendment.
Mr. Porter told the officers that he had discussed the situation with his lawyers.
It's free speech and you can't do anything about it. Call your state's attorney's office. I talk to my lawyers every day. I'm in the newspapers. Every state's attorney's office reviewed it and said you can't do anything about it. It's free speech. You're not even supposed to be talking to me.
I'm not arguing that.
Okay.
You're right. You're right about free speech. We have a call because people are offended by your sign. So.
But I didn't offend them. They offended themselves by not liking the choice of words I have for the governor.
Okay.
Officer Arnold informed Mr. Porter that if somebody finds his actions disorderly, then he can get charged for disorderly conduct. However, Mr. Porter wasn't convinced. Have a look.
My free speech is not contingent upon someone else's emotions.
Okay.
You know that.
I have a question for you. We haven't been nasty to you at all. We've come here to talk to you. And
He said he's going to arrest me for disorderly.
I didn't say that. I said
He
if
did.
someone finds your actions to be disorderly and disturbing of the peace.
I'm sorry, but they're not judge, jury, and executioner.
Could be arrested.
Could be.
Could be. That's all I'm saying.
I'm engaged in a constitutionally protected activity.
He makes the point that the officers could have informed the 911 caller that his protest was legal, rather than responding to the call. However, Officer McKenzie has a different point of view.
we have to come out for everything. If we get a call, we have to come. We have to come out here. That's it.
Mr. Porter inquired from the officers if he was being detained, to which the officers replied,
Am I being detained? No, I'm free to go. I'm free to continue protesting also.
You're free to stay here too.
Absolutely, it's a free country. I'm glad you know that. Make sure you recognize that when you try to charge me with disorderly conduct because you don't like the content of my free speech.
Why are you being nasty?
Because I don't like it when cops try and tell me what is and is not allowed on a political
We
sign.
didn't do that. We told
This
you.
guy did.
After a long exchange, we can see in the background a second police cruiser. A third police officer, who seems to be a supervisor, signals to the officers to leave the citizen alone, after which both officers leave Mr. Porter to continue with his protest. If you thought this whole interaction was ridiculous, wait till you see our next story, where a female cop got into an argument with a YouTuber, forcing her sergeant to step in. Number 2, female cop gets into an argument during a traffic stop, and the sergeant steps in. On January 21st, 2017, YouTuber and constitutional activist Gavin Seam was traveling through the town of Clute, Texas with his family when he noticed a traffic stop taking place and decided to pull over and film the encounter after observing the stop for a few moments. Mr. Seam was confronted by Officer Kyle Garcia and Officer Amy Cantrell of the Clute Police Department.
How you doing, sir?
Can I help you?
Well, we're just observing.
Huh?
We're just observing.
Oh, okay.
What's going on here?
All right. That was just a traffic stop.
Why do you have somebody in handcuffs for a traffic stop?
Well, it's none of your concern, okay?
Well, it's very much my concern. You work for the people, and I'm just observing to try and make sure that nothing untoward's going on. But I think it's a reasonably curious question. Is it normal to put somebody in handcuffs for a traffic stop?
That's her business, okay?
Mr. Seam told the police officers that he was just observing, to which Officer Cantrell replied that he needed to get off for a traffic stop. Not only that, the officers also said,
Okay, but what I'm telling you is the person that was arrested, it's not any of your business because that's her personal business, what she got arrested for. So it's none of your concern.
No, actually, that's a matter of public record, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Seam told the officers again that he was just observing and had no intention of interfering in their business. He went on to say,
So I'm just observing. I'm not here to interfere. And you guys shouldn't be uncomfortable with being filmed. I mean, it looks like you have body cams yourself, so it's not like you should be uncomfortable.
Well,
Can I ask how old you are? Can I ask how old you are?
Yeah. Can we ask you a question? Okay.
You can ask, yeah.
The reason why we're here right now talking to you is because we're on a traffic stop and you pulled behind us. Okay.
Right.
And we don't know who you are.
Yeah, I'm well behind you. So actually, what's weird to me is that you're on a traffic stop and you're over here talking to me instead of dealing with your traffic stop.
Okay. Well, she's already detained. Okay.
giving him two tough choices. Officer Cantrell told Mr. Seam that he either leave her scene or get arrested. Knowing his rights, Mr. Seam inquired,
Okay.
Two choices. Either you can leave my scene or both of y'all are going to be arrested
For what?
for interfering.
How am I interfering?
You're interfering with my traffic stop. I don't like you sitting right here behind
You don't get to dictate that, but
Mr. Seam asked the officers what law he was breaking. The officers replied,
can you tell me what law I'm breaking?
You're interfering with our traffic stop, okay?
In what way am I doing that?
You're interfering because we're over here speaking with you, okay?
Isn't it, the Supreme Court has upheld our right just to film
you
police
know-
Okay, I'm
officers.
going to tell you one more time.
Are you gonna leave or
You
not?
can either leave right now with your kids in your vehicle.
Okay, so you're threatening my family with force then, is that what it is?
We're asking you to leave.
And you're going to use force against me if
No,
I don't
I'm
leave.
saying that y'all are going to be arrested if y'all don't leave our traffic.
the officers told Mr. Seam again that if he didn't leave the scene, he and his family who were in the car during the encounter could face arrest. Mr. Seam told the officers that
You are well outside the law. And normally, if I was by myself, I would probably refuse, but I got my family in the car. You are breaking the law right now. You're violating your oath. You're acting as criminals.
Alrighty.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move somewhere else and film you to make sure that you're not untoward to this. I want what's your badge number, ma'am?
It's 208.
Okay. I intend to have you held accountable for this. What's your rank?
Go ahead and leave, please.
a third officer, who seems to be a supervisor, approaches Mr. Seam. The officer identifies himself as Sergeant Park.
How you doing, sir?
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm feeling very threatened by the behavior of your officers here.
Okay.
Because I'm exercising my First Amendment right.
Sure.
And you guys are acting like bullies, or they are rather. I don't want to speak for you. I don't know you.
I'll go ahead and identify myself. I'm Sergeant Park. I'm with the Police Department.
Are you a supervisor of these guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad you're here because they threatened my family's life just now.
Mr. Seam continued to talk to Sergeant Park, reminding him of his oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Mr. Seam hands Sergeant Park with a copy of the United States Constitution and inquires from him about his Sixth Amendment rights.
You think it's law to go out and take people's cars to impound, lock them away in jails with no victim because their taillight was burned out? Does that seem okay to you?
The only
Is that
thing
America?
that we do, whenever we see a traffic offense, we just issue the citation. We don't do any judgment. That's for the judge to do.
No, it's not.
It
You're
is.
all accountable.
That is the procedure. We
Haven't
just
you-
issue the ticket, and then they get a court date or whatever.
Mr. Seam requested the supervising officer to take disciplinary action against the officers who threatened him and his family. And this is how a tense confrontation between police officers and a citizen who knew his constitutional rights ended. If you want to watch more videos of female cops getting humiliated by their own superiors, then please subscribe to the channel.